Landing a job as a data scientist feels next to impossible right now. And it is especially true if you are just a beginner in this career. I know people who have applied to over 1,000 jobs and still didn't get any. In my 10 plus years in this industry, working as a data scientist in the US for different tech companies, I've never seen the tech job market this bad, especially for data roles like data analyst, data scientist, and machine learning engineer roles. So in this video, I wanted to break down what are the reasons behind this tough tech job market, what I think the future looks like, especially for data scientist roles, and third, most importantly, what you can do as a junior or entry-level data scientist to increase your odds of landing your job as a data scientist. Now, first, let's try to understand why we are seeing such a brutal tech market, especially when it comes to data science roles. I think it mainly boils down to demand and supply. So let's first look at the demand. Since Fed started increasing the interest rates, we know that companies are a little tight on money. And this is a vicious cycle because if my company does not have a lot of money to spend, I will not make purchases from other businesses. And if that is true for a lot of companies, then the next company will also be tight on money because not a lot of companies are buying from them. And it is not just true for companies. When companies are tight on money, they lay off people, they cut on salaries, then individuals do not have a lot of money. This is a known impact of high interest rates. And that is the reason Fed increases the interest rates, because they want companies and people to be a little tight on money so that they could control inflation. So Fed has been increasing interest rates in 2021, 2022, and that led to a lot of tightening when it comes to money. Companies as well individuals do not have a lot of money to spend. So if a company do not have a lot of money to spend, what do? A, they stop hiring or at least decrease their hiring significantly. And second, they lay off people because salaries are the biggest expenses for any company. And that is what we saw in 2022, 2023, and even today. There were hiring freezes in a lot of big tech companies and they had mass layoffs where they were letting go 10,000, 15,000 people in a single day from a single company. So companies in general, especially the bigger companies, do not have a lot of money to spend on salaries, so they are cutting down on all roles, but especially for tech roles, because tech roles are usually considered non-necessary because these are not operational roles in a lot of cases, and a big chunk of these tech roles are mainly for developing something new, for innovation. And when companies are tight on money, they don't want to spend on innovation. And that leads to a big impact on tech roles. Also, tech is generally considered like an innovation thing. That is why we have a lot of tech roles in startups. Most of the startups are around tech. And when companies generally do not have a lot of money to spend, then these startups do not get VC funding. And if they do not have VC funding, then we don't see a rise of many new startups, as well as the current startups are either letting go of people or are not hiring as much as they previously had been. So all in all, demand is pretty slim in all companies for pretty much all roles, but it is especially true for non-operational tech roles. And the main reason for that is high interest rate, nothing else. If someone is telling you are seeing this low demand because of AI is taking over jobs or companies are automating things, that is just not true. Interest rates, as soon as they started going up, we saw dramatic decrease in open jobs, and that is a known phenomena, and that is what it is. If you see these two graphs, one is showing you how the interest rates are going up over time, and the other one shows you the number of open jobs. You can see there is a pretty clear correlation. As soon as the interest rates started going up, we saw a decrease in number of open jobs, and that was very expected to happen, and that is why we are seeing low demand on the company side. Now let's talk about supply. So even before interest rates started going up, there was a regular supply, a very healthy supply in the tech industry already. We had a lot of people already working in tech, then we had a lot of universities producing new graduates, we had a lot of people coming from other countries in the US for the job market. So that ecosystem was already working in a very healthy way. But as soon as interest rates started going up, there were some other things which started happening. First was mass layoffs from companies. As you can see from these numbers, in 2022, 2023, 2024, there were mass layoffs happening all across tech industry. And that flooded the tech job market with a lot of talented people. Many of them were coming from some very big names, very talented people. And that just made the competition in the job market much worse because the demand had already decreased from the company side. And the other thing, especially for data science and ML and data analyst roles, was this hype around AI. When ChatGPT was launched at the end of 2022, a lot of people saw what the potential of AI could be. And then there was a big hype that how AI is going to eliminate and automate a lot of jobs. And that led to a frenzy of people rushing towards AI, ML, and adjacent roles from many other tech sectors. So think about it. If you are working as a QA engineer, for example, and you get to know that there is this new tool which is going to automate your job and your job will be gone, then as you think about your future, it is very natural that you think, okay, if AI is going to take over my job, then I should probably go towards an AI role so that I am at least going into roles which are expected to grow in future instead of staying in a role which is expected to shrink in the future. And that thought process, I think, led to a lot of people abandoning their current tracks and going towards AI, ML roles. And that led to a lot of new supply for data science and ML roles. So anyway, that's like the bigger picture on what happened in the last 2-3 years and why getting a job seems like impossible, especially if you're a beginner data scientist or machine learning engineer. So now let's talk about where we are going in terms of future. I think the demand for AI, ML, data science roles is still pretty strong. So again, showing you two comparison charts. One is showing how the overall tech job market is doing. As we can see, it has declined a lot, especially in the recent 2 years. And then on the other side, you see this chart from the same source, TrueUp, which shows what the job market for AI ML roles look like. You can see that as for overall tech roles, we see that it has declined a lot in the last 2 years, and now recently it's been pretty flat. The demand for AI ML roles, it is skyrocketing. It is increasing a lot, even in this tight money environment. And that is because that AI hype, which I initially talked about, it is not only true at candidate side, it is also true at company side. Companies also know that if they do not invest money in AI, then they will be left behind from their competitors. So every company is trying to outsmart, outspend, and outhire their competitors by spending money into AI related fields. Every company wants to hire the best AI talent out there so that if AI is the future and it is going to influence big time which company succeeds and which company does not, then they want to have the best AI team on their side instead of them going to their competitors. So they are still spending money on AI, and as Fed decreases the interest rates, which they have already started decreasing, there was a big cut of 0.5% and there is another one coming, most likely of 0.25%. This will ease the money environment for companies, and as companies would have more money, they would spend even more for these AI ML roles. So I'm very optimistic in terms of what the demand will look like for AI ML, data science, data analyst roles in the future. But since it is becoming a sort of a gold rush, and a lot of people are rushing towards this career, only the fittest will survive. So even if there are like 1 million jobs, there will be 2 million, 3 million, or maybe 4 million people trying to get those 1 million jobs. And only the fittest and most capable people will survive in the long run. And that will a lot of people who are just going towards this AI ML roles because they pay well and they sound fancy. And only serious people who are very committed towards their career will survive and thrive a lot in the future for these AI ML roles. So now coming to what you can do to increase your odds in the future to be a thriving and successful data scientist. The first thing I would say is that, again, only the fittest in this market will survive. So make your mind, are you in here just because you think it's going to be the future and it pays well, or you are really serious and committed about your career? Because only serious people who are willing to spend a lot of time and effort learning the fundamentals of math and programming and SQL, etc. will survive in the future. And the expected outcomes for those is pretty good. in the future. So use this downtime, use this high competition time to double down on your energy to learn new things instead of being pessimistic that I'm not getting a job, so maybe I should go do this and that. Just make a clear mind. If you want to do this, then just be committed. Do this like full time. And if you become like really good at it with time, then there is no way that you won't get your job as a data scientist and you won't have a future. So make that commitment and then dedicate your time on learning. The other thing which you can do is that maybe the competition for data science roles is too much, and the kind of interview questions you get asked also has a bigger variety because you can ask on statistics and machine learning and SQL and Python. Narrow down your scope, especially if you're a beginner, to maybe just data analyst and business analyst roles, because there you just want to work on SQL and Power BI and that kind of stuff. The number of open jobs for data analyst is higher than data science roles, and the kind of skill sets you need to get into data analyst role is also much shorter. So think about the adjacent roles as well instead of just fixating on data science roles. And lastly, just keep applying. Getting a job, as long as you have a good resume, it boils down to being a number game. The person who applies to more roles, as long as they have a good resume, have much higher chances of getting a job than the person who applies to lesser number of jobs. If you're wondering what your resume should look like, I've shared in the description the exact resume which I have used in my last 10 plus years, which got me a lot of interviews and many good jobs. Feel free to use it and tailor it according to your experience. The link is in the description. It's absolutely free of cost. And if you want to know how to find some low competition jobs which do not have as much competition as the conventional jobs have, then I've created this video on this exact topic on how you can find some jobs which have far lesser competition than other jobs so that you could apply to those and your likelihood of getting hired is much higher. Please check out that video. I think that will be very useful as you're applying for data science roles. Thank you so much for watching.